She quietly asked the cashier to remove a few groceries. She smiled, pretending everything was okay.
Then...
A stranger stepped forward. He looked at the cashier and simply said, "Please leave everything in the basket." Then he paid for it all. What happened next? No one in that supermarket expected. It was just another evening at the supermarket. A young mother stood quietly at the checkout. Her basket held only the essentials: bread, milk, rice, fresh vegetables. But when the total appeared on the screen, she realized she didn't have enough. Trying not to draw attention, she looked at the cashier and softly said, "Could you please remove the cereal and the fruit?" The cashier nodded with kindness. Behind her, a stranger had quietly witnessed everything. As the cashier began removing the groceries, a voice quietly spoke from behind her. An elderly man stepped forward with a gentle smile. He looked at the cashier and simply said, "Please, leave everything in the basket." The entire checkout fell silent. Without asking for recognition, the stranger reached for his bank card. He quietly paid for every single item. The young mother covered her mouth. She couldn't believe what had just happened. For the first time that day, she wasn't holding back tears because of hardship. She was overwhelmed by kindness. With tears in her eyes, she quietly whispered, "I don't know how to thank you." The elderly man smiled kindly. "You don't have to thank me. Many years ago, when my wife and I had nothing, a stranger helped us without asking for anything in return. I've simply been waiting for the chance to do the same for someone else." She stood there, holding the groceries she thought she would have to leave behind. The man's words stayed with her. Kindness doesn't end with the person who gives it. It keeps traveling from one heart to another. He smiled one last time, picked up his shopping bag, and quietly walked away. But his kindness would stay with her forever. That night, she sat quietly at her kitchen table. The groceries were finally home. But her mind wasn't on the food. It was on the stranger, whose kindness had turned one of her hardest days into a day she would never forget. She picked up her notebook and wrote herself a promise. If life ever gives me enough, I'll help someone else. Just as someone helped me today. She didn't know it yet. But that promise would one day change another person's life. 5 years passed. Life slowly began to change. The woman who once stood at a supermarket checkout, worried about how to pay for her groceries, now owned a small cafe filled with warmth, fresh bread, hot coffee, and grateful customers. She never forgot the stranger who chose kindness when she needed it most. Then one rainy afternoon, a young student quietly approached the counter. With a trembling voice, the student politely asked if one meal could be removed because there wasn't enough money to pay for everything. In that moment, she saw herself from 5 years ago, and she knew exactly what she had to do. 5 years passed. Life slowly became kinder to her. The small dream she once held on to had grown into a warm little cafe filled with laughter and fresh coffee. Then one rainy afternoon, she noticed a young student standing quietly at the counter. The student looked into a wallet, then softly asked the cashier if one item could be taken away. In that moment, she saw her younger self. Without saying a word, she walked to the counter with a gentle smile. Before the student could remove anything, she paid for the entire meal. The student looked at her in disbelief. With tears in their eyes, they whispered, "Thank you." She smiled warmly and replied, "You don't owe me anything. When life gives you the chance, help someone else." And just like that, the kindness that once changed her life began changing someone else's. Few years passed. Life had changed in ways she never imagined. One rainy afternoon, she noticed a young student quietly asking if one meal could be removed. The moment felt painfully familiar. Without saying a word, she stepped forward, tapped her card, and paid for the entire meal. The student looked at her in disbelief. She simply smiled and said, "You don't owe me anything. Just help someone else when you can." Months later, a handwritten letter arrived at her cafe. She unfolded it slowly. It read, "Your kindness gave me hope on the hardest day of my life. I graduated this week, and yesterday, I paid for a stranger's groceries." She looked out through the rain and smiled. In that moment, she realized that kindness never truly ends. It simply finds a new heart to continue its journey. Months passed. Life had changed in ways she never imagined. Her small cafe was now filled with warmth, fresh bread, laughter, and hope. Then one rainy afternoon, a handwritten letter arrived. As she read each word, tears filled her eyes. The kindness she had once received had changed another life. Outside, the story continued. A young graduate quietly paid for a stranger's groceries, just as someone had once done for another. No cameras, no applause, just one simple act of kindness, passed from one heart to another. Because kindness doesn't end, it keeps finding new people to change. You may never know how far your kindness will travel, but every act of compassion plants a seed, and one day, someone else's life may bloom because of it. So whenever you can, choose kindness.